Happy 2021. What the fuck was that shit? Okay. Hi, welcome to my non-intro. I'm Christina, and I'm new here. So you have to be nice to the new girl. Isn't that how it happens in all those movies? You have to be nice to the new girl. Anyway, so here, links below to social media in the bottom. Give it a follow. Don't give it a follow. It's how you feel. The purpose of this channel is to go over pop culture things and current events, I guess, and also to maybe dunk at some bad op-eds and pieces that I see. There was a recent New York Times article by Joe Coscarelli, and it's okay. It wasn't a bad piece. I've seen worse pieces from the New York Times crew. I've seen worse takes. It's okay. It's not wrong, but it's not right either. It's about stan culture. Coscarelli seemed to want to document what 2020 stan culture and stan Twitter is like, versus make a definitive value statement on if it's good or not. And reading that article had me thinking about my own stan experience, because I'm 24 right now, and I have spent much of my formative years in a fandom space in online places. So, it got me thinking about my own experiences. And so I figured, what would be a better time than the beginning of 2021 and this new astrological energy environment we're under, to impart some elder fandom knowledge onto you guys, because now I felt like, wow, you turn 20 and suddenly you're a fandom elder, right? I just want to impart some elder knowledge on you guys, and just give some internet safety tips, because some of the shit I see you kids do today. No, stop that. It's gotta stop, guys. Okay, so before I get into it, I'm just gonna talk about what my fandom experience was, and in order for you guys to understand that, I have to impart my fandoms on you, and I'm gonna warn you right now, I've picked unbearable fandoms. Truly unbearable fandoms. This is because I am fundamentally an unbearable person, but that is okay, because I want to be unbearable. Only the strongest can put up with me. So my first fandom was technically the Jonas Brothers, but I was 11. And I mostly experienced that through early YouTube videos and through fan websites. In this article, they describe the idea of fan websites and going to a specific website once a day to see updates and stuff. That was very much how I experienced the Jonas Brothers. I didn't have a MySpace. I didn't have anything like that. It was mostly, I also didn't really have a YouTube account until I was 16. So my YouTube, my Jonas Brothers fandom experience was mostly through watching YouTube compilations of them, music videos, going to that fan site, all that fun stuff. The first fandom that I had an actual account, I went to Tumblr. I did most of my fandom stuff on Tumblr. I went to Tumblr, made an account to talk to other people and experience fandom content and read fan fiction for. That was Homestuck, which we can do a different video on Homestuck probably way later down the line, because that's a behemoth and I need to be better at editing and scripting these videos and speaking before I do that. But I would like to make a video on Homestuck. I am 100% going to read Andrew Husse's new thing that he's putting out this year. Very excited for that. More excited than I thought it was going to be when I saw there was a new Andrew Husse project. I watched that trailer and I was like, I'm back in. He's hooked, line, and sinker. So look for that video. And then kind of Sherlock. I wasn't super Wholock. I didn't watch Supernatural. I didn't watch Doctor Who, but I did watch Sherlock, and I only watched the first 3 seasons. I never watched the 4th season. And then after that, MCU, particularly around the Winter Soldier, the first Avengers, and I guess technically it's the other way. Particularly around the time the first Avengers came out, the time the Winter Soldier came out, and the time Civil War came out. I'm a Bucky Barnes stan, guys. What can I say? And then Teen Wolf, Rooster Teeth, which y'all know how that ended up. And then Steven Universe, which as by far, and listen, by time, I'm gonna read my last fandom and you guys are not gonna believe me, but Steven Universe was the worst fandom I've ever been in. For there was no reason for people to tear each other apart like that, especially because of how we all identified. Like, there was no reason. No reason. It was a children's TV show. There was no reason for that at all. At all. So it's kind of like, and I really liked Steven Universe. Like, it was really fun. And I had to stop. And I even stopped watching because it was that bad. And then Overwatch. I'm not really a video game person beyond, like, Mario and Sonic because I'm a furry. Overwatch, I really liked that first trailer, and when it came out, I really liked the characters. I'm terrible at first-person shooter, though, so I haven't played in a while. And then my last fandom, and the fandom I'm in right now, is BTS. I'm in ARMY. And I know you're going to be like, is this Steven Universe fandom was worse than ARMY? Yeah, at least ARMY's like each other sometimes. No one in the Steven Universe fandom liked each other. Not a single. No one liked each other there. No, but seriously, like, if me being an ARMY, like, makes, like, invalidates any of my opinions, it shouldn't, because I explained so many other fandoms that had nothing to do with K-pop. So if my K-pop opinions make you angry, like, I don't know what to tell you. But that being said, my 2020 fandom experience is going to be primarily from the ARMY lens, because that's how I experienced fandom in 2020. So I will say, the first thing I will say that's this piece kind of glosses over is that 2020 fandom experience is very different from, I would say, even 2018 fandom experience. There is a big difference between the heyday of Tumblr in the 2012s, 2013, and 2020 Stan Twitter. And most of that difference comes from how those websites work, right? Twitter is a functioning website. Twitter is a functional website with a functioning algorithm that has a goal, an incentive to keep a user on that website for as long as possible so that they see as many ads as possible. Tumblr has none of that. Tumblr just is not like that. Tumblr just shows you posts in chronological order. It does not care how long you stay on. I don't even think it knows if you're a person or not. And it was a mess. Truly, it was truly a mess. It broke half the time. I'm sure, like, if anybody was on Tumblr, like, you remember all of the glitches that would happen 24/7, and it was, like, site breaking all the time, and it would last for hours before anyone would fix it. Twitter doesn't really have those. The most recent site breaking glitch in Twitter history was the one where all of the verified accounts got hacked, and so they took away everyone's verification. That wasn't even a fun glitch. So now, is that better? Is the way Tumblr ran better than Twitter is now? Now, is that better? Is Twitter now better than Tumblr 2012? Than 2012 Tumblr? Is 2020 Twitter better than 2012 Tumblr? I'm gonna say no, because if you took a look inside my brain, it would look like a pan of scrambled eggs because of 2012 Tumblr. But, like, the drama was funnier and just more iconic, and everything, like, I guess the most important part of it, besides the drama being funnier, is that everything was more anonymous. It was much easier to hide your identity on Tumblr than it is on Twitter right now. It's also easier to leave behind, right? Twitter right now, they want you to verify a phone number and email address. They want you to post a face. It's the same with Instagram and TikTok. They want you to be an actual person. Like, not just like a person running an account. They want your account to be you, to be a representation of yourself on the platform versus just an access point to a blog or like a place, you know? In some ways, I mean, there's pros and cons to both, right? Twitter pros is that you only have 240 characters. And there's no ask box, so you just don't get random hate mail all the time. Like, if you don't want a curious cat, you don't have to. Yeah, that's my first piece of fandom advice for the kids, is that if you're on Twitter, don't have curious cat. Don't do it. No, I've been there, done that. I was forced to because Tumblr has it. Just don't. And the other thing with Twitter too, right? Twitter is borderline a professional website. Your boss is going to be on Twitter. Your coworkers are going to be on Twitter. Your professors are going to be on Twitter, right? So it's actually really important to keep your stan stuff or inappropriate stuff or stuff that is not professional separate from your actual real life face and identity. You know, do what you have to, use a separate email, use a fake name, keep a second local Twitter account otherwise. Like one Twitter account for your fan stuff, one Twitter account for your friends, family, and boss. And don't be afraid to keep some of these accounts locked and on private. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be open. You don't have to be accessible 24/7. We'll get there. But, like, be low-key and private and walk away when you need to. Because Twitter, again, like, everyone is on Twitter. The function of Twitter in our society, because it has a function, is to be kind of this, like, great conversation starter. And it fails at that because it creates these echo chambers. So we can't really have conversations across different ideologies. It just shows you things you agree with and you go, yeah, I agree with that, and people go, yeah, I agree with that too, and it's just kind of like this circular thing, and it didn't get any better from 2016 to now, since Twitter is supposed, that's how Jack views himself, as this great platform for conversation, even though you're limited in your conversation on Twitter. So what you need to do, knowing that Twitter is supposed to be this platform for conversation, is you need to know that it wants you to do that and act accordingly. One of the things this New York Times article mentioned, that some people feel like they're online 24/7, and I do agree with that. I do agree that it feels like we're online 24/7. It's designed to have you check once an hour and integrate it into your real life. It's designed for you to have these conversations with people in your circle, with people that you agree with, on like current events and topics and everything, right? Like, that's what it is. So if you primarily use Twitter for fandom stuff is going to become into your life 24/7. Because the website is designed like that. It's designed to keep you engaged as much as possible. So if you're engaging with it as a fan, you are going to be a fan 24/7. Understand? Get it? However, on the other side, there's also a quote about how some fans feel like they're chained to a phone streaming 24/7, and that I don't necessarily agree with, right? Especially for somebody who's like an army, and the army in the piece like literally was quoted about streaming and streaming guides. I don't feel like I have to stream 24/7. Sorry, armies. That gets me canceled. What do you mean you're not streaming all night? I listen to the music I like. And I'm an army because I really like BTS's music and I like the boys' personality. And that's it. It's that simple. It doesn't stop me from doing anything else. End of story. In 2021, we're going to take back our lives from these social media apps, okay? You're going to promise me right now we're going to take our lives back. Okay. There's a point in the end of the piece, but this kind of fits in with the there's a point about the emotional aspect of standing. Real talk. People need an outlet. They do. They need a distraction, especially in a year like 2020 when everything and everyone is at the possible worst that it could be. We've all been through collective traumatic events. There was the P word. There was civil unrest. There was murder on the television, broadcasted for everyone to see constantly for like a month straight. And we had the worst election in recent memory, which is saying something because 2016 was pretty bad too. So if this election was worse than 2016, and we were not allowed outside of the house. No one could leave the house because there is a disease going around. So we can't leave we couldn't leave the house, guys. It was safer to stay inside. This is not me like complaining about, it's just the facts of the situation. I want to spend some time not looking at the news. Yeah, I'm gonna spend some time on Stan Twitter not thinking about it. It's okay. It is not a bad thing to have an outlet or distraction that makes you happy when the world is at rock bottom. Once again, cry about it to your mom. There's another quote too from Nancy Baym, B-A-Y-M. Sorry, doctor, if I pronounced your name wrong. She has a PhD, yes. So she does research into fandom behavior in online spaces. I did not look into her research enough for this YouTube video because this is baby's first YouTube video. I'm trying to keep this short. And this is more just about like 2020 fandom experience in general over a general fandom experience, but this is a topic that interests me a lot, and she's somebody that I will probably look into later. But the quote in this piece, I'm not going to read it. The piece is going to be linked down below. The quote in this piece paints 2020 fandom as more competitive than it was in 2010 or the earlier days of the internet, and that's not necessarily my experience with fandom. And I am saying that as an army. Like, so if I'm saying that as an army, and I know how we are, guys. Like, I don't know about the rest of you, but I know how we are. So if I'm saying I don't think fandom is more competitive than it has been, someone's right here. However, this could just be how I run in fandom circles. So I basically have just found a group of friends. We're all into BTS. I focus my fandom experience on that. However, I do also like to see my groups on the tops of the chart and succeeding. And I want to help my fandom do that, right? With BTS, it's a little bit more intense because they don't have a US label. And again, here's where I talk about the vast library of BTS videos I want to make. I kind of want to make a video about how BTS are not industry plants, but that video would be 5 minutes long because it would just be like, they're not signed to a US label. How can they be an industry plant if they're not signed to a US label? What industry were they planted in? What, you think South Korea wants a plant? If the South Korea wanted a plant, it wouldn't have been BTS. But as far as BTS goes and in US stuff, like, they really only have, like, it's like us and then, like, what they plan themselves. So that's kind of why it's a little bit more frantic. Another video I could also make about BTS, besides BTS are not industry plants, is also about how they kind of function, not necessarily as a boy band or even typical pop group, but more as a legacy rock act. This is something that they've admitted. They've said it themselves. Their company has said it. They're kind of doing more of like the AC/DC thing instead of like the NSYNC thing. And so they're kind of focused more on building fan base and long-lasting fan base and not like flash in the pan stardom. BTS really in the US only has their fan base, so I find it an important part of my experience to be a part of that support because that's a very important part of their career, and like it's a very like intense parasocial relationship and like a necessary like link. And this is different. This works different from like Taylor Swift or Beyonce, who are also kind of have the legacy thing like AC/DC, but also have US label support because they're signed to US labels. This does not mean that Taylor Swift and Beyonce do not face troubles in the US with the US industry. That is not what I'm saying. It is just different. They just have different problems than BTS does. That is okay. It is okay to admit that the problems these artists face are different and unique to the artists, guys. It's fine. If you find that your Twitter timeline is filled with people competing and comparing and you hate it, clear it out. Make a new account. Unfollow people. Block people. Do what you need to do. Your fandom experience is your own. It is what you make it, and you can tailor it to how you like it. The last bit of the article, right, is about stans preventing necessary conversations around holding public figures accountable. And I find this to be untrue. I don't think this is a true statement. The stans prevent public figures from being held accountable. I find that artists who often are not stan Twitter artists or artists who do not have a standum versus just normal fans are often ones that end up slipping under the radar more often than not. Chris Brown, for example, right? Chris Brown there is no stan Twitter corner for Chris Brown. Right? There's not. If there was, we would all be harassing them every day. And they would deserve it, because why are you standing Chris Brown? Why? There is no reason. Like, how many restraining orders does he have against him? How many more restraining orders until we can convince people that maybe we should not be listening to this man? And yet he's still on the radio. He's on radio right now. and he's not a stan Twitter artist. So if anything, having a group of stans, of people that are stan you, probably hold you hyper accountable, because of kind of the opposite, right? They might be more forgiving of you, more understanding of your mistakes, but they are also kind of the type of people that will jump on anyone you point out or anything you call out. So you have to be very vigilant of what you say and what you point to, otherwise they will jump. Also, don't do that. Kids, there's no reason to dox anybody ever. Don't do that. Don't do that. And overall, like, yeah, there's gonna be some bad apples and crazies and drama, but the vast majority of Stan Twitter accounts are like normal. It's like a normal fandom experience. The issues that come up on Stan Twitter are more about Twitter the platform, and how we interact with Twitter the platform. The issues that are from Stan Twitter and come up from Stan Twitter are much more about how we interact with Twitter the platform and how the algorithm pulls behaviors from us than from any actual, like, individual or about any individual. So thank you for watching. Again, socials are in the bottom, in the bottom. Thank you for watching. Socials are in the description. I will hopefully see you in roughly about a week. The goal of this YouTube channel is to talk about pop culture and stuff, as I said beforehand. Hopefully, my goal in January is to get at least one video a week. This is the first one. I have the dates picked out for uploads, so I can plan from there. And yeah, so we will see. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you next time.